Welcome to the deep dive. You know, sometimes the most incredible treasures, well, they aren't hiding somewhere new. They're right there in familiar landscapes if you just look a bit closer. Take dive watches, for example. The world seems dominated by just a few big names.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Rolex, Omega, Blancpain, Seiko, the usual suspects. They've definitely earned their spots.
they absolutely have. But what if I told you there was another player, maybe one you haven't heard as much about, with an incredible 307-year history?
307 years. Wow.
Yeah, a brand that made just as big a splash in the early dive watch scene. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Favre Leuba. And this isn't some, obscure micro brand. This is a foundational piece of Swiss watchmaking history that honestly you should know about. So our mission today, unpack that huge legacy, especially their pioneering role in adventure and dive watches. And then, we're going to get hands-on with their impressive new release, the Deep Raider Renaissance.
It's such a compelling story of Favre Leuba's. It's not just about the watches themselves, though they're fascinating. It's really a narrative of, well, innovation, incredible resilience, and that early global thinking. Understanding their story, I think, is pretty vital to grasping the full picture of watchmaking history. How a brand can adapt, disappear almost, and then reemerge bringing all that expertise back. It was quite something.
Okay, let's dive into that astounding journey. 307 years. Where do we even start? How about the very beginning? We're talking 1718. A 16-year-old Abraham Favre starts his watchmaking apprenticeship in Le Locle, the absolute cradle of Swiss
The
watchmaking.
heart of it all, really.
Exactly. And he moved fast. By 1737, he's already an independent watchmaker. Then around 1749, he gets the title Maître Horloger du Locle. Pretty prestigious. And get this, during that early time, he was apparently collaborating with giants, like Jacques-Frédéric Courier,
Ah, the father of Swiss chronometry, yeah.
the very same, and even Abraham Louis Breguet. So, sadly, the details are a bit sparse.
Yeah, that's the trouble with history sometimes, isn't it? Paper records, wooden buildings.
Fires. Lots of fires, unfortunately. It makes you wonder how they even piece together a continuous story over centuries with those kinds of gaps. What's your take on tracing those roots so clearly, given the limitations?
Well, that's a great point, and I think what's remarkable is that persistence, even fragmentary evidence of collaboration with names like Fourier and Breguet. Well, it suggests Favre wasn't just around at the time. It implies he was an active participant, maybe even an intellectual peer, to the biggest names shaping Swiss horology right then. It hints at that early focus on precision, on innovation that we see pop up again centuries later.
That's a fascinating way to look at it. Okay, so let's fast forward a bit. The name we know today, Favre Leuba, that gets formalized in 1815. That's when Abraham Favre's grandson, Henry Augustus Favre, partners up with Auguste Leuba.
Right, cementing the brand name.
And from there, wow, their global expansion was, well, pretty impressive for the time. They didn't just stick to Switzerland or even Europe. They went to the Americas and, crucially, Asia. And here's a really cool fact. Favre Leuba was apparently the first Swiss watch brand to officially enter the Indian market, way back in 1865.
1865, that's incredibly early.
Isn't it? And
Yeah.
they're still popular there today. How ambitious was that, really? Setting up in India in the mid-19th century, what does that tell us about them?
I mean, thinking about the logistics back then, it's huge. It wasn't just about selling watches. It showed incredible foresight, real strategic thinking. Establishing international networks like that was not easy. You could argue it made them one of the earliest truly global watch players. And that early exposure to different markets, different needs, maybe even extreme conditions,
Huh.
that probably embedded something into their DNA,
I should.
shaped their future focus on rugged tool watches.
Makes sense. So
Yeah.
the next century or so, they operate as a successful Swiss brand. They move from pocket watches to wrist watches. They're regulars at the big watch shows, Basel, places like that.
Mhm.
Then in 1955, they kind of dip their toes into water-resistant watches, the Sea Chief, Sea Raider, Sea King, using their own in-house movements.
Setting the stage.
Exactly, which led directly to their first proper dive watch, the Water Deep, in 1960. But the 1960s,
Great.
that's where things get really interesting. Favre Leuba just went all in on adventure watches. It was a decade of genuine world firsts for them. So 1962, the Bivouac, the first mechanical watch with an aneroid barometer, basically a tiny altimeter on your wrist.
Yeah.
Indispensable for mountaineers back then.
Amazing tech for the time. Mechanical, too.
Totally. Then just 2 years later, 1964, they released the Deep Blue. That's the precursor to the watch we're looking at today. It boasted 200 meters water resistance.
Which is a serious rating for 1964. A real benchmark.
Huge benchmark. Then 1968, another world first, the Bathy. the first mechanical watch with a depth gauge for divers.
Incredible. A mechanical depth gauge.
Right. And as if that wasn't enough, in 1969, they became a sister brand to Jaeger-LeCoultre.
Ah, okay. So there might be some rare cross-branded pieces out there from that era.
Exactly. If you're lucky enough to find one, the 60s were just monumental for them. I mean, lots of brands were making tool watches then, but what gave Favre Leuba that edge? How did they create these genuine aha moments like the Bathy and Bivouac?
I think it comes back to that spirit of innovation you mentioned. It wasn't just about making a watch tougher or more water resistant. It was about adding instruments. These were fundamental changes to what a watch could do. They weren't just following the tool watch trend. They were actively defining new categories, pushing boundaries by integrating useful complications for adventurers. That focus on the instrument, not just the time, was pretty unique, I think.
Yeah, instruments is a great way to put it. Okay, now for the sad part of the story. It's one we've heard before with other brands. Fast forward to the 1980s. The quartz crisis hits. And it dealt Favre Leuba, well, a fatal blow. After over 250 years, the family had to sell the brand.
Wow, after that long. That's tough.
It really is. And the next 40 years or so, the name changed hands multiple times. There were relaunches, but with, let's say, varying degrees of success. They never quite got back to that former glory. What does it even mean for a brand to survive that kind of upheaval and then try to reclaim its heritage decades later?
That's a really important question, isn't it? It speaks volumes about the power of a name, the value people place on that history, that legacy. To face that, essentially disappear for a while, and then find a way back. It shows incredible resilience. It's about digging deep, reconnecting with those groundbreaking innovations, and reminding everyone, collectors, enthusiasts, new buyers, where they actually stand in the history books.
Well, the story does have a happier recent chapter.
Yeah.
The latest relaunch just happened last year, 2024. Industry veteran Patrick Hoffman is leading the charge now.
Ah, Patrick Hoffman. Okay, that's a strong name behind it.
Definitely. And they've launched 3 main collections. The Chief, the Sea Sky, and the one we're focusing on today, the Deep Raider.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. The new Favre Leuba Deep Raider Renaissance. What are we looking at? It's a 40mm stainless steel dive watch. It takes some inspiration loosely from that 1960 Deep Blue we mentioned, but the feel is definitely more modern than, say, a straight vintage reissue.
Right, contemporary interpretation.
Exactly. They sent us the green version, which is lovely, but it also comes in blue and classic black. This green, it's a really pleasing shade. Hard to pin down exactly, but maybe somewhere between a Kelly green and a forest green.
Sounds good. Not too loud, not too dark.
Yeah. And the dial itself, it has a very subtle sunburst finish and a slight gradient too, gets a little darker towards the edge. And it uses that sandwich construction.
Oh, okay. Cutouts for the indices.
Yep. Cutouts reveal a layer of lume underneath, add some nice visual depth, and obviously great for low light legibility. Crucial for a diver. You've got the Favre Leuba 1737 text just below 12, pretty subtle, and their little hourglass logo above 6. The hands are classic sword style. But the Minute's hand has kept that unique arrow tip from the original 1960 Deep Blue. I really love that little historical nod.
It's those small details that connect it back, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's a date window, circular, pretty unobtrusive, down to 430. And the crystal is sapphire, very slightly domed. So these design choices, the sandwich style, the arrow hand, the gradient, how do they work together for you?
Yeah.
Balancing the history and the modern function.
I think they work very well, actually. You've got practical elements like the sandwich dial and strong lume, ensuring it functions perfectly as a dive watch. Legibility is paramount, right? But then you have these thoughtful historical touches, like that arrow hand. They ground the watch in its heritage without making it feel like a museum piece. It's a connection, not a copy. It feels like a well-considered balance.
Well said. Okay, moving outwards. The bezel, matching green ceramic. It's got a 120-click action. Feels very solid.
Good, positive click.
Yeah, really nice. There's substantial knurling on the edge, too, so gripping it, even with gloves probably, would be easy. And the sound, it's less of a harsh clack and more of a smooth, satisfying clunk into each position, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know that sound. Reassuring.
Exactly. The case finishing is mostly brushed, which makes sense for a tool watch, but there are little touches of polish, some nice chamfered edges. It adds just, I don't know, a little bit of elegance.
Keeps it from being purely utilitarian.
Right. Perfect for the standard post-dive tuxedo dinner we all attend.
Exactly.
Inside, the movement is the FLD02, and that seems to be based on the Le Jouperet G100, which is what they originally launched with.
Yep.
Solid specs here. It's an automatic time and date. Beats at 4 hertz, so 28,800 vibrations per hour. And a really good power reserve, 68 hours.
68 hours is excellent. More than enough for a weekend off the wrist.
For sure. And the finishing on the movement, well, it's actually quite nicely done. You can see Côte de Genève, those wave patterns on the main plate,
Yeah.
and soleage, that sunburst effect, on the custom rotor, which is skeletonized too. You can see it because it has a sapphire display case back.
Oh, really? On a 300-meter diver? That is unusual.
It is, but honestly, it's welcome here. The movement looks good enough to show off. These come on either color-matched rubber straps or a really well-made 3-link steel bracelet with a butterfly clasp.
Butterfly clasp. Okay. Nice seamless look.
Yeah, and quick-release spring bars, which is always handy. Our review unit came on the bracelet.
So having that level of finishing and the display back on a serious diver, what does that signal to you?
I think it shows a real commitment beyond just the tool aspect. It says they care about the craft, the artistry inside, not just the external specs. It elevates the watch, doesn't it? Makes it more than just a tool, even if it's perfectly capable as one. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so wearing it, from wrist to water, how did it fare? Well, on the wrist, especially on that bracelet, it's superb. Really comfortable. That 40 millimeter size and about 12.5 millimeters thick. It just hits that, Goldilocks zone for a lot of people.
Not too big, not too small. Sits well.
Sits perfectly. And it's surprisingly versatile. It really does manage to walk that line between being rugged enough for rough stuff and, well, chic enough for smarter occasions.
Yeah.
Beach to wedding. Yeah, you could actually pull it off.
That's the sweet spot many brands aim for.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the whole thing just feels incredibly solid. The bracelet, the bezel action, even winding the crown, it all feels very well put together. Now, my only complaint, and it's pretty minor, is the butterfly clasp. Because it's a butterfly, there's no dive extension built in.
Ah, right. Common issue with butterfly clasps.
Yeah, but honestly, easy fix. I swapped it onto a simple black NATO strap.
Oh, yeah. How did that look with the green?
It looked killer, actually.
Yeah.
Really sharp. And then, boom, ready for diving. And in the water, it was great. Just looked really cool and unique on the boat ride out with that understated green. Strapped it over my wetsuit.
Easy to do with the NATO.
Super easy.
Yeah.
And under the cerulean waters of the Atlantic, as they say, it performed perfectly. Setting the bezel at the start of the dive, even with a gloved hand, was no problem at all. And after that, the watch just does its thing. It's just there, silently ticking away, kind of looking after you with its steady heartbeat. We were diving the wreck of the Lady Luck. It's an old 324-foot tanker they sunk off Pompano Beach here in Florida, down at about 100 feet.
Okay. Decent depth.
Yeah, and technically, green is one of the colors that stays visible longer as you go deeper, science stuff.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that green dial was still completely visible, easy to read.
That's good to know the theory holds up.
It does. So given that modern dive computers handle all the heavy lifting, now the decompression calculations, all that complex science, what's the role of a dive wristwatch today? Is it just backup or something else?
That's a great question, and it really touches on how we interact with these objects now. Yes, it's definitely a reliable backup. You always want redundancy, but I think maybe more importantly now, it's become almost a relic for meditation. If that doesn't sound too pretentious,
No, I think
it's a connection to the simplicity of it all. Away from the screens and the beeps and the complex algorithms of the computer, it's just mechanical timekeeping. It connects you back to the purity of diving, maybe the history of it.
Exactly. That's precisely how it feels for me. You glance down, see that smooth sweep of the second's hand, feel that simple, steady heartbeat on your wrist. And it's like a little reminder to just breathe,
Well,
Stay calm. Enjoy the moment. So, yeah. Wrapping this up, Favre Leuba, such a rich history, so many innovations, these iconic watches in their back catalog. It's just really great to see their name on a solid, well-executed dive watch again.
absolutely. And knowing that history, understanding that journey we talked about, it genuinely adds another layer of appreciation when you see this new watch. It's not just another diver. It carries that legacy.
It really does. And with such a strong diving heritage, I'm personally very excited to see what they do next.
Me too. It feels like they're truly back in the game. And understanding a brand like this, it just enriches your appreciation for the whole world of mechanical watches, I think, and that enduring spirit of adventure that often drives their creation.
Well said. Fantastic point. And for those of you listening who might be curious, maybe want to experience this blend of history and modern execution yourself, the Favre Leuba Deep Raider Renaissance is available now. It's priced at USD $2,550 on the rubber strap, or USD $2,650 if you go for that really nice redesigned 3-link steel bracelet. So here's something to think about. Given Favre Leuba's history, especially creating tools like the Bathy depth gauge, What kind of new advancements could a legacy brand like this bring to exploration today in our world of, pervasive tech? And maybe how do we as enthusiasts or users choose between all the bells and whistles of modern technology and that simple purity of a classic mechanical tool? It's an interesting balance, isn't it? It makes you wonder what other unsung heroes of watchmaking might be out there, just waiting for their own deep dive into the spotlight.